I want to say a little bit about that too. I have two different narratives on this medieval period. To Jews, I like to say it's important that we understand how well Jews were treated in the Muslim world in the medieval period, because relative to the treatment of the Jews in the Christian world, it was much better. To Muslims, I like to say the opposite. I like to say it wasn't really quite so good. So don't get so excited about it. Because, I mean, take Maimonides, for example. Maimonides left Spain not because of Christian persecution, but because of Muslim persecution. So it's important for Muslims not to simply step back and say, you know, we're great, we have it all wrong, and, you know, when we had power, we were in great shape, and we always took care of everybody. That's not the whole story. The whole story is complicated. As my colleague Ibrahim Karawani, an Egyptian who teaches political science at the University of Utah, says to his students, when they come to this first class, political science in the Middle East, he says, I know you've come here, many of you have come here because many people tell me, I've come to take your class so that we can get things straight, you can simplify things, we'll figure out what's going on in the Middle East. He says, that's not my job. My job is to complexify things so you can understand what's going on in the Middle East. Things are not so simple. Whenever you have communities of power, you have the abuse of power. It just so happened that in the medieval world, Muslims were in power in part of the world. There were Muslim empires. There were Christian empires. There were no Jewish empires, so it's easy for Jews to say, yeah, we're great, we're moral, we're very compassionate people. We don't have to deal with power, and we didn't have to deal with abuse of power. We were the ones being abused all the time. But for the moment that you have control of power, you begin the abuse as well. And that's simply a part of life. And it's something that we have to be conscious of as religious people. It doesn't matter who we are. People always abuse power, and they need to have watchdogs, and people who are, that's not a very good word, is it? There's got to have people who are going to speak out and to their own communities and say this is not acceptable. And so we, in this world today, Jews and Muslims and Christians, all of us have to be that way. We have to be willing to reach out across the aisle and across religious and ethnic and racial boundaries. And that's really your job, because you've been here at this university, you have the opportunity. It's not, you're not finished yet. You have to keep engaging with people of other religious traditions, ethnic traditions, and national traditions, and keep up the conversation. And it's the only way to move this world in the proper direction. So,
Voices of conscience.